Hello, and welcome to the Career Change Diaries podcast with me, Alice Stapleton. And today we are speaking to Jenna Mcavoy, who is an online lifestyle and body coach for busy women. Hi, Jenna. Nice to see you.
Hello, Alice. Thanks for
Hi.
having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So Jenna is actually my sister-in-law. So we obviously have met before a number of times. But what I thought would be quite interesting for us to chat about is your various careers that you've had in the past. So
Yeah, I've had a
we were
few.
just yeah. So we were just catching up on those. So started as a professional athlete, which looking forward to hearing more about that. And then working with children with autism in a couple of different settings. That then moving into being a personal trainer, and now that leading on to what you do now. So yes, interested in hearing more about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about change in general as well, because obviously I imagine you deal with a lot of habitual change and mindset and all that kind of thing. So yeah, looking
Yeah,
forward to chatting it through. So first of all, just tell me a little bit about your previous careers then. And I suppose it might make sense, yeah, start from the beginning and talk me through how they sort of merged into each other, what the challenges were, that sort of thing.
yeah, gosh. Yeah, I've had quite a few different career changes, but ultimately it has led to where I am now. And I don't regret kind of having that path, because it has really helped me find what I truly am passionate about. So I first started, so I'm from the Lake District and I grew up on Lake Windermere. Which is
Amazing.
why I was a water sports athlete. I used to do a sport called wakeboarding. So I would train over in America and then compete over in the UK. And then with that, it was a really male dominant sport to the point where
Right.
um, sometimes with competitions, women weren't allowed to compete. They just wasn't a category for us. So kind of it's everything's kind of threaded through in terms of women's empowerment. So I think this is where kind of the women's empowerment started in terms of my career.
Right, I
Um,
see. And what kind of age were you when you knew that's what you wanted to get into? I mean, I imagine it has to start quite young, doesn't it?
yeah, so I started when I was 10, and then I
Oh,
started
wow.
competing when I was 11, and I finished when I was 23.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So with that period of time, um, I was sponsored. So I would have some kind of financial support, but I also needed to work as well because we didn't have social media back then. We didn't have huge
Mm,
sponsorships and all of that back then. So I kind of went from working as a coach with wakeboarding to also organising female events, charity events to get more women involved in the sport, to also nannying as well, which is kind of where the path after wakeboarding, I kind of decided that I really needed to decide what I was going to do after 23. I didn't have the best of educations because I was traveling so much to and from America. I didn't go to university, so I was really stuck. I really didn't know what I was going to do.
mm. And you were questioning at that age because of what you said about the financial side of it and not much potential for females, or were there other reasons? Do you just sort of finish at that age in that career, or
A
what?
little bit of everything, really. So, one was that it was definitely harder being a female in the sport. Um, Two, I broke my shoulder, so that was the kind of end
Oh
of that
God.
as well. And also, I kind of needed to I kind of grew out of it and kind of fell out of love with it as well, is that I'd done it for so long that it was kind of time to grow up and get a proper job, but I just didn't know what that was. I had a great lifestyle, but I really needed to think about what the next thing was. But I was so lost, I didn't know what to do.
Right. So you start nannying to, I suppose, have more income to start with by the sounds of it, and that leads into other things?
Yeah, absolutely. So my best friend at school was autistic, and I decided that I didn't want to be in a Lake District, because there wasn't, when you work and live in the Lake Districts, there's not really much there. But I wanted a completely different experience of throwing myself into the city of London, and went and got myself a nannying job with children with autism. And that's kind of where my passion for like psychology, human behavior, understanding children with autism. So decided to get all the qualifications that I possibly could with childcare, but also experiencing London life as kind of in my 20s. And then from there, there was a job in Cheshire working in a school, advertised, which just sounded fantastic and something that I was really interested in, which was a mainstream school working with children with autism, kind of integrating them into mainstream, but also giving them kind of a space to be themselves and to have like a bit of peace and quiet, but also being that person to help them with that. So I went for the job. I didn't get it. They said you've got no educational experience whatsoever. You're crazy. Why are you even applying for this job? So I said, look, I'll volunteer. I'll do it for free. And got myself like a part-time job as a nanny for children with autism in the area. So I'd go to the school, mainstream school, high school, and work there during the day, and then in the evenings after school I'd work as a nanny for children with autism, and I did that for about 6 months until they offered me the job.
Oh wow. Well, what a great way of turning that, I suppose, that what could have felt like a rejection into something so positive and such an opportunity. So how were you able to then live off the nannying income whilst you were volunteering?
Yeah, so that was kind of supporting me financially, but I was getting the experience and kind of testing the water of like, is this for me? Is this the career path that I kind of want to go down? And what kind of avenues can I go down? Because even at that time, so this is about 10 years ago, maybe even longer, maybe 15 years ago, where there wasn't very much awareness around autism and helping children in mainstream schools integrate. So it's all very new, but I just knew that I wanted to help people. I enjoyed coaching people. And autism just fascinated me, and the psychology behind that, and how different strategies to help others kind of also is now thread through exactly what I do now. So if it wasn't for that experience, I don't think I would be where I am now.
Yeah, well, it's funny how, because I often say that to clients, you tend to pull out these key themes that people want from their careers, and then I think it's appreciating that there will be a handful of different things that mean that you can be working within those themes, but in a variety of different capacities. Okay, so how long did you work in the school then after volunteering?
I worked in the school for about 3 or 4 years, and I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. It was just so interesting, and every day was different. It was challenging, but then it got to a point where there was like a bit of a ceiling to it. I couldn't get any further because I didn't have a degree. So kind of the next step was either to become a teacher or go down like the psychology or like speech and language or like some kind of therapist. And because I didn't have that education and that degree, I got myself into a bit of a crossroads again. So like throughout, from starting as an athlete, I had an opportunity to kind of live my dream, which I did, or go to university. And I chose to kind of live my dream. I did that. But then further down the line, it's got me to the point where it's like, I don't have a degree now. What do I do? And I just kept kind of facing this same barrier all the way through.
So when you said you were doing the nannying, I think you said you did some qualifications, so that they weren't applicable to the teaching. They wanted that specific teaching degree or something, did they?
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of, if at the time you had to have any kind of degree to be able to get onto like a teacher training course, and I didn't have that. So then therefore it would be like another 3 years down the line, 3 or 4 years, and then of course teacher training on top of that as well. So I got myself into like another crossroads where I love my job. I absolutely loved where I was, but it became like I felt like I wanted more. I wanted more, and I wasn't going to go anywhere else with it. So I really needed to kind of think, well, where do I go with this? What do I want to do next?
And when you say more, what do you mean?
It got to the point where it was kind of that career, you either get promoted or like you can kind of see the path of where you're going, of where you want to go with it. And there was no other path for me.
Right. So it was the kind of the progression and the promotional side of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And although there was all these different channels of where I could go with it, it all came down to that education of not having that degree.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, what's next? Where do I go with this? So I then had a complete start from scratch again, moment of, right, well, I'm really into my fitness. At the time, I was really into my fitness, and I loved getting myself kind of my weight, like fitness kind of replaced my wakeboarding for me. So I was really into that. I loved helping people. I wanted freedom, and I also wanted my own business. So it was kind of a little bit of a light bulb moment of being a personal trainer. I could see that there was progression there, and that's what really attracted me to that.
And just, I mean, you must have, I imagine, considered the degree at some point, did you? Or was it just a flat, well, I'm just not going to do that?
It was a flat, I'm just not going to do that. It just wasn't really for me.
For what reason?
I think it was probably the indecision of what do I study, because I was kind of flitting between careers. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It was 3 years down the line, and I don't know, it just...
Yeah, I didn't want to spend that time doing it. And so, because it sounds like you could see the progressional path of where you were at the school. So I get the sense that that wasn't attractive enough in order for you to go through those 3 years. So although you were enjoying it, there was something about what was the other side of the degree that wasn't that appealing by the sounds of it. Or
yeah, and I guess there wasn't at the time a guarantee that there was where I was going to go with it. So I could have invested that time into it. But also with the education, the degree side of things, it might not have I don't know, contribute. I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's tricky.
Yeah. Well, I'm always fascinated by those crossroads situations, and yeah, what influences people's decisions? Because yeah, I guess you could have gone. I mean, not that it really matters. You are where you are, but yeah, I'm always just interested into people's decision making.
Yeah.
Okay, so you make the decision, right? Not the degree, not that right turn. So you've obviously got this natural interest in fitness. When you say it was a light bulb moment, what can you remember how you even sort of came across the idea? Or I mean, obviously it probably was in your periphery vision anyway, but yeah, do you remember anything about that?
Yeah, so it was kind of looking into different career choices of where can I go, what can I do, and it felt like anything else I looked down, like avenues I looked down, was a dead end. And then I looked at kind of looking at what it took to be a personal trainer, and the options. It was just so attractive to me. It was just like this lovely shiny thing that, oh, I could do that and I could do this, and kind of different ideas going off. Also, a friend of mine had just joined like a franchise of a, I guess it was a franchise company, personal training company. And they were kind of advertised as the best in the country and supportive with education. And I just thought, right, okay, well, I could retrain as a personal trainer and go down that avenue. Went to go and meet them, have a chat with them, and I just thought, yeah, this is so me. This is what I've been missing. It felt very like part of my wakeboarding in terms of like a really fun team of people that I could be around. It had so much progression and learning. So even though I didn't go down the degree side of things, like learning is something that I'm really into as well, and something now that is never ending in terms of what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you have to do in order to qualify as a personal trainer? What's the journey?
So we're still working in the school, and then I'd train at the weekends. I did like a 6-month personal training course at the weekends, so that I had that overlap. And everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone was like, how have you gone from working with children with autism to wanting to be a personal trainer? You're mad. I had quite a lot of like doubt of, could I make it, because you're going into being self-employed, you're going to be running your own business, and then learning a whole new career of all sorts. Was
So
quite kind of
well, yeah, and with those doubts and people saying, "Oh, are you crazy?" What helped you overcome that and still decide to do the course?
I'm quite stubborn, and I quite like to prove people wrong.
Right, yes, that's always good motivation.
I was just so determined. I was just so determined that I was gonna make it work. And the more that people were kind of telling me that it's going to be really hard and really difficult, I was more determined that I was going to make it work, and it was going to be great. And we're like 10 years down the line, so I'm glad I took that leap. It was a bit of a leap of faith, to be fair. It was a bit of a risk, but I'm glad that I took that risk and it paid off.
Yeah. Well, and imagine, doing the course whilst you're still working alleviates some of that risk. It's not like, sort of jack it all in and then start the course, because I suppose you have the financial outlay for the course, but then obviously you've still got your income as well to live off and that sort of thing.
And I had to kind of like make that step over. So because I was going to be working under a franchise, it took a little bit of a risk out of it, because you almost felt supported, that if you had any worries or you didn't know how things worked, that you had someone to go to support you through it. But what I had to do is I had to pay gym rents straight away without any clients. So I had no clients, had to pay gym rent, and also at the time didn't have an income. So your first month, you are kind of thrown into it.
Right. So this is after you finish the course, is it? And do you do the course under the umbrella of the franchise, or is that like a separate thing?
Yeah, completely separate thing.
Okay.
So then, and then under the franchise, you had like education, you had a team of people who had kind of done it before, so that you had those go-to people that if you were worried about anything or wanted to understand how things worked better and from their own experiences, you had that support, which was great.
Okay. Yeah. So run me through what your day looked like then as an early personal trainer and how it developed from there.
This is the stuff that they don't tell you when you decide to be a personal trainer.
Well, that's why I think it's helpful to understand, because, I've seen it on a lot of people's ideas list. I think it is quite an attractive career for people. So I think it's helpful to get it warts and all.
Yeah. So you've got to be in the gym for 6 o'clock in the morning. So I used to get up at like half 4. Yeah. So you'd be up at half 4. Half 4, get ready, get yourself sorted, get into the gym, big smile on your face. You're the best part of that client's day. So you've got to show up as the best version of yourself in that gym. And you'd be back-to-back sessions, hour sessions, for, kind of once you've built your clientele up, from 6 till about, maybe 12. And then you have like a little break in the middle, have your own lunch, admin, normally quieter during the afternoons, do your own training. And then from probably 3-4 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night, you'll be working back-to-back sessions. And then home time, and then you do it all over again.
Yeah.
So it's hard work at the start, really hard work to kind of build your clientele up.
And how do you do that?
So we used to call it gym floor, which is
okay. So kind of moving around.
Yeah, talking to people, so getting to know people, building trust, building rapport to the members in the gym, and finding out more about them, and then sign them up to some personal training. And then because I was part of a franchise, sometimes I would get kind of clients from them. There's a little bit of support. And then as you build your clientele up, you then get referrals, because you're doing a good job and their friends and family can see that, they've had change and it's been successful, and hopefully have good relationships and rapport with your clients, so that they want to refer people over and build it from there. So
those other people don't have to be members of the gym then? They can come in and see you independently?
The gym that I was in, so at the time you would have to be a member, but okay. all gyms are so different now. It's so different now, but it's the same principles still work now with my online coaching. Is that it is from referrals and it is building up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so how long did you do the PT stuff in the gym?
Gosh, so there's a whole other story to this. I'm not sure we can get all this done in 45 minutes.
Okay, what's the other bit?
So you become a personal trainer and then you kind of want to find your niche within that. So you can be a personal trainer and train all sorts of different people, but then you really want to find that niche of like what you're interested in. And then there's like a whole other educational path down that way as well. So because I was working, because I was an extreme sports athlete, what I thought I wanted was to work with extreme sports athletes. And it turns out there's not many extreme sports athletes in Cheshire. But I started working with Red Bull athletes through a mentor, found a new mentor within where I was working. And I worked with Red Bull athletes that went through any kind of surgery or any kind of traumatic injury and helped them return to sport. So I did that for about a year. I learned so much from physios, specialists, like the medical background, which was fantastic. It was really, really good because, again, that feeds into what I do now because we're all kind of athletes in our own little way of we've all got injuries, we've all got things that we need to address. So that taught me a lot as well.
Yeah. So how did you get in with like the Red Bull crew?
It's so this is so random and weird, and I do totally believe in the universe of how this happened. But a friend of mine had a really unfortunate accident. Gosh, that must have been about 10 years ago. And I wanted to find out how I could help him in any way to be able to get back to his sport, get back walking. He became, unfortunately, a quadriplegic from a wakeboarding accident. So I found this article about this mountain biker who had a similar experience. And there was this one guy called Darren Roberts who had rehabbed him back to his sport. He's walking, talking, and back on his bike. I spoke to my teacher at the time of my PT course. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to find out where this guy is, Darren Roberts. And he turned around to me and he said, he's over there, right on the gym floor.
So, no way.
Yeah.
How funny. God, what a small world.
Yeah, he's over there. So then I just watched him. I was so petrified. I just watched what he was doing with his athletes.
Just staring at him from across the floor.
Yeah, from across the gym. I was like, oh. So he was working with the UK snow and ski team, the snowboard and ski team. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do. Anyway, he actually asked me to go for coffee and have a chat, and heard that I was an ex-water sports athlete, wakeboarding. And so he asked me if I wanted to be mentored by him. So I did. I was like, absolutely, yes, this is so exciting.
Just shows you how important it is to verbalize these things, because if you hadn't asked, if you hadn't said his name, you wouldn't have known he was there. And it just shows you how important it is.
And it was brilliant. It was so good. So then it's kind of having those little moments as well where you're like, I've made the right choice, like this is where I want to be. So that was that for a year. And then I'd kind of written in and out of that, helping the Red Bull athletes and with Darren. But then also I did have, kind of like my bread and butter of kind of fat loss clients within the gym. So what I was finding was that a lot of clients that I was working with, especially women, were petrified of the gym, petrified of not knowing what to do, feeling completely lost in the gym, had no confidence. And so I decided to create Empower, which was to create semi-private coaching for women to have the confidence to go into the weights area, learn how to lift weights, learn how to use the equipment, and gain a confidence so that they can independently go into the gym, any gym in the world, and be able to go and do a training session, and create a community within the gym. So that was the kind of next step in personal training.
I see, yeah. So was that something separate to what you were doing? I suppose you've sort of had like your day job and then you were building that outside.
Yeah, it was all kind of all happening within the gym. It was just, and that was the kind of what I wanted, was that I was running my own business. I was growing as a person in terms of educating myself in different niches. So I was getting that fulfillment from all these kind of different little projects and ideas that I was putting together, which was also super rewarding because I was helping people as well. And that kind of links back to the start, because that's what I was looking for in a career, is freedom and progression and I guess, yeah, being productive, helping people. Like, it was ticking all the boxes.
Well, and having your own thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. And having that freedom without the ceiling, which was my struggle with the school, was that I felt trapped and I couldn't progress. So with this, I was just, this is what I was really enjoying.
Yeah. So you start to build in power, and then do you transition full time into that side of things?
Yeah. So that really takes off in the gym. It's going really well. Do a couple of male versions too, which they love. We used to have a little 6 a.m. club, which was great in the gym, boys club. The boys kind of thought, oh, can I do that? So I've got a few of the boys together, which is quite cool. And then it got to the point where, again, I needed a different environment. It was a bit tricky in the gym where I was, and I needed to change the environment to a different gym where I had a little bit more space, a little bit more control, because I was actually based in Europe's biggest gym at the time, which it was just a bit tricky. So decided to move my client base down the road to another gym. And that was really hard, even though it was just down the road. Some clients didn't like the change. So I had to kind of rebuild that a little bit more. I hired a business mentor, new mentor. So I came out of the franchise, hired a business mentor. And wow, that just taught me so much of investing in a coach myself, just for the business side, and looking at things at a whole different new perspective that I just hadn't even thought of before.
Okay, well, in terms of what you wanted from your own business and where you wanted to take it and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But also kind of what I thought I had a business. I was working underneath a franchise. I thought it was my own business, and it turned out it wasn't my own business, because when I
suppose there's probably rules and
I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea. I thought it was my own business, but when I actually was like, I'm going now and I'm taking all my clients with me, they didn't like it very much. Because like, no, they're actually our clients, Jenna. Like, oh, okay. So yeah, lots of lessons learned there. So I got myself a business mentor.
And again, was that, I get the sense you needed that space to grow and develop something that you wanted. Again, this sort of ceiling. I get the sense that there's sort of a ceiling around you again that you needed to to break through in order to go to the next level, to the next thing that you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like rules and regulations and all sorts. And I was like, oh no, this this is quite suffocating. And yeah, I guess I hit another ceiling right there and needed to kind of get out and grow again. And this is kind of like the next step. I had to kind of take a step back to be able to go again. So moved gyms, created Empower in another gym, and oh my goodness, like it was so tough, it was hard, wasn't easy at all, of just like the location of the gym, but we did it. And when I say we, and it's like my clients were so supportive. They, a couple of them were like quite intimidated in this new gym, so had to find new clients, but the clients that did stay, they were so supportive, and it was brilliant. And they're actually some of my bestest friends now, which is crazy to think.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's so nice.
I guess you develop such an intimate friendship or relationship of sorts.
Yeah. So I was going through a gym change. So my other half, your brother, was also going through a career change. So we were both kind of going through it together. And then COVID hit.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten. Well, obviously I'd not forgotten about COVID, but I'd forgotten the impact on you and that side of things. Yeah. Okay, so how long had you been in the new gym before that happened?
So just under 12 months, just. So it was like I'd put all this, like completely revamped everything.
Oh God, you must have thought, oh shit.
Yeah. I invested so much money into a business mentor in terms of like a new structure, new branding, and yeah, just trying to kind of get people to this gym and social media and creating a bit of a buzz, and then COVID hit, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like what am I gonna do? I'll never.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, at that point, your financial model, it's very much you get paid for the work that's right there and then, I suppose.
Absolutely, it's time for money. It's time for money, and it's also. Again, that comes down to change as well. It's changing people's perspective of what personal training is. So I remember like the first week, it was, thank goodness I had a business mentor at the time, because I don't think I would be here. I don't think I'd be where I am now in terms of with what I do, because he was right. This is what what you need to go and do is go and assure your clients that you know exactly what you're doing. I didn't have a clue. I had no idea what I was going to be doing, but just to kind of give them the confidence and trust and belief that you've got this and you're going to figure it out. Just give you a couple of days to figure it out. So what I ended up doing, which is what everybody did in the fitness world on COVID, was videos, live streams, Zoom workouts, but it was so exhausting, because it was just, you were competing against not only your local gyms, but you're now competing against everybody online to join your kind of workout online.
And Joe Wicks.
Joe Wicks, like who can compete with Joe Wicks?
God damn him! Yeah, tricky. No, I do, because I think I was doing I was halfway through like a Pilates class, and you just sort of immediately had to. I did feel for her, and just having to somehow work out, oh Christ, how am I going to do this online, and the equipment and all that sort of stuff.
So then this is kind of what was born of what I do now, and oh my goodness, it's I've always wanted an online business. Like, that was ultimately, but I never knew how I was going to go from the gym to online. And COVID did totally just kind of push me over a cliff edge to go and do it, and create something. And actually, if I was to think about the struggles that busy women were having in the gym, which was, it's time getting to the gym, so it's half an hour there, half an hour back, or at least kind of faffing around, no matter like how local you are. And then you've got, so it's going to take 2 hours out of each person's day. So what I was finding when I was in the gym is that clients would be very late or just couldn't make it, work commitments, childcare, poorly children. There was always like this barrier. But also with working as a PT, and when you're trained as a PT, you're kind of only helping them with exercise and nutrition, where COVID brought a whole different level of looking at lifestyle of people's stress levels, sleep, nutrition, the mental health side of things, the mindfulness. So that's kind of where this all started.
Right. So what you do now is much more 360 then?
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't the time that I had with clients in the gym, I couldn't touch on all these different subjects. And actually, as you're trained as a personal trainer, is to know about like different movements and exercises and like a basic nutrition knowledge. And then a whole load of stuff that you don't really use. Nobody actually at the start teaches you the foundations of becoming your best self, in terms of it doesn't start with exercise and nutrition. It starts with sleep, it starts with stress, it starts with mindset, and then exercise and nutrition are on that kind of top pyramid. And that's kind of where the 360 approach comes from, because you can't get to those 2 points of having good nutrition and good exercise without having that foundation of those 3 or 4 things below, which is where people get stuck in this vicious circle. So again, it just fascinated me, and I just wanted to learn more and more and more. And there wasn't a ceiling to it.
Well, funny how, God, talk about silver linings. And that's the thing with, I've heard so much of those journeys starting with COVID, that COVID sort of forced something. Something had to give, something had to change. But at the end of the day, it was an opportunity that was born, and who knows whether it would have ever have happened, or how long it would have taken. It was just that sort of impetus and that catalyst for so many people. Okay, so just tell me a little bit about the online business then, and what it does and that sort of thing.
So because since the kind of pandemic, what I was finding is that a lot of busy professional women were experiencing a lot of burnout. We're now working from home, so everyone's behaviour has kind of changed from where I was before the pandemic. And we're working from home, or we're hybrid, we're back travelling. And now what I do is I help busy professional women prioritise their health and wellness and their fitness, to become the best version of themselves. And how I do that is through online coaching. So looking at lifestyle habits, looking at their sleep, their stress levels, looking at their nutrition, and then also looking at their exercise as well. And a lot of women that I work with really struggle to get to exercise because they have very limited time, they're exhausted, absolutely exhausted to do anything. So I help kind of look at your lifestyle. What strategies can we implement to overcome any obstacles and struggles that you're experiencing within your lifestyle, and work on that over either 28, 90 or 90 days or 6 months to ultimately get to your goal. And that can also involve kind of losing a couple of dress sizes and just becoming the healthiest, best version of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Well, I can see why I've got stuck in the loop then, because yeah, as you say, we go straight for the exercise and the physical bit when it's all the stuff underneath, the foundations that have to be there first. So, because I imagine then with what you do, someone comes to you because they want something to change, in obviously the same way that they do with me, and perhaps similar challenges. My clients are focusing on the specific career change, the job change, and a lot of what I encourage them to do is step back and sort of look at all of the foundations that will lead up to that. But as you say, there's often obstacles and barriers underneath all of that. So what do you find are maybe one or two common obstacles that people face when they are trying to change something?
I think the biggest thing is the mindset, the all or nothing mindset, and the perfectionism. I think that's the biggest change. Also using the weighing scales as a number of establishing their own progress of achievement, where when it comes to like a fat loss goal or getting into shape, is that we use this number on the scale to as if like a sense of achievement, and if that goes up and down, is that we feel like we failed. Where actually weight, it fluctuates all of the time. So I think that's a big change of mindset, to not look at that as your number of achievement of what you want to achieve in terms of fat loss. It's really hard to kind of change that mindset when it's kind of been drilled into us for years and years and years, with our own parents and our own kind of experiences with that. I think that's one of them. But definitely all or nothing mindset as well.
So what do you mean by that? It's an all or nothing mindset.
So when it comes to health and fitness, it's kind of, I want this goal and I have to do 7 days worth of exercise and starve myself of carbs and be in such a low calorie number to be able to achieve this goal.
So it's sort of going from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, it's going from one extreme to the other, which gets a lot of people stuck. So it's kind of breaking that behavior pattern so that you then take things step by step, lifestyle habits step by step, that are a sustainable change, rather than changing everything all at once.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because as you say, it's just not sustainable, is it? I mean, well, it's the same with career change. I find people, they're like, right, I'm going to change career, and then they spend a couple of weeks sending off applications, doing this, doing that, but it's just not sustainable, and then it becomes quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then often that's when people procrastinate, or everyone procrastinates, because it starts to feel like it's too much. So then you start putting it off, and because it's going to take too much energy and too much effort, and
and then you don't see the results. You wonder, like, why am I not, like, I've done all of this work, like, why aren't I seeing results? And it's because you don't have that consistency. And I guess that's the same if you take things step by step, consistent steps, step by step, rather than kind of going down this kind of all or nothing, then you're most likely to reach your goal, not be burnt out, not be exhausted, not be overwhelmed, and get the results that you're working hard for.
Yeah. So is that your main advice / approach if somebody's procrastinating, or are there other things?
Gosh, there's lots. But I think with procrastination, and kind of feeling demotivated, you have to take action first, no matter how small. And again, that's where the all or nothing mindset comes in, is that if you just take the smallest step, then that's action. You're going to get momentum, and with that momentum, that's where motivation comes from. So when we're saying, I just don't feel motivated, I just don't have the energy, I just don't, we have to take that action, and that might be the smallest of things. It might be just looking into your sleep. Going to bed half an hour earlier is going to give you a little bit more energy to get through the day, to then get to your workout.
Yeah. Well, I remember someone saying that, they were struggling to take action, and this was in relation to going to the gym, actually. And so they just broke it down. They didn't even think about actually going to the gym. It was like, right, first step, I'm just putting my shoes on.
Yeah.
That's no biggie. I can do that. I'm just putting my coat on. Now I'm just getting in my car. Now I'm driving for 10 minutes. Now I'm walking through the gym. Now I'm, picking up the first weight. They weren't thinking about, oh my God, I've got this massive hours workout, at which point, we're energy conserving beings. We're going to put that off. So it's sort of breaking it down into such tiny steps that they seem just really achievable. And it, as you say, it then builds. Because I remember I used to do that. I was like, it was with my blog posts. I just could not get the motivation to write these blog posts, which I knew would, build my brand, get more clients.
And that's.
But I just kept. Yeah, well, just as you said, I'd be thinking, I don't feel like it. But then I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write one paragraph. And then the momentum comes, and then you get into the flow, and then you want to do more. And it's something about, you don't have to feel like doing it to just start, and then, especially with exercise, it then builds from there, doesn't it?
No, exactly. If we only did exercise when we felt like it, we would never do it. We would never do it.
I know. And then we feel so much better afterwards. I mean, it's amazing. I was watching something yesterday. They were saying that when you contract muscles, it releases certain hormones which, fight off cancer, and, obviously the science is there in terms of, and, it's sort of the equivalent of what is in antidepressants. So, it just makes us feel so much better and so much more effective in terms of doing other things as well, and other changes that
massively. It has a huge knock-on effect of absolutely everything. Every corner of your life is affected by it, and it's so important that you prioritize yourself, your health, your wellness. And kind of going back to breaking things down, is one of the first things that I do with clients is what I call a 90-day action plan, which breaks everything down. So you have this huge goal. This is what I want. I want to lose 2 dress sizes. I want to feel this way. I've got this event, and this is how I want to feel and show up as this person. But it's so overwhelming, like you mentioned before, in terms of where do I start with my career change, of breaking that down step by step and looking at those obstacles and those struggles, and then also finding out what your true why is, which is so important for motivation. So those days where you really don't feel like exercising, you feel, you might be emotionally stress eating, which is going to go against your goals, if you go back to your why of like why you want to change, then that's a huge motivator. But you've got to find out what that why is first, why it's important to you to change.
Yeah, that's such a good one, isn't it? Because I think we lose sight of that. We sort of get stuck in the weeds of change, and then you can't see the wood for the trees.
No.
You have to sort of step back out and understand, as you say, why it's so important. Well, and for a lot of my clients, it's just they don't want to feel miserable at work every day.
Yeah.
And I imagine for yours, yes, quite aspirational goals and understanding why they want to achieve them.
Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you had the online business now?
I think it's been about 4 or 5 years, maybe coming up to 5 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people want to find out a bit more about that, what's your website?
It is www.empwr.co.uk.
Okay.
So there's the website, but you're best probably following me on either LinkedIn or on Instagram. You're probably best doing that.
What are you on Instagram?
On Instagram? Oh gosh, that's a good question. I think it's gosh.
Well, I think if they put in Jenna Mcavoy, you come up, don't they?
It is actually. It's Jenna_Mcavoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so having talked through that whole career, what are your takeaways from it?
What a ride! Like, oh my god!
What a ride! Yeah, but did it feel like a ride at the time? Like how did it feel as you were going through all those changes?
I think it's been a struggle. Like, it hasn't been easy, and there's been failures and there's been dead ends. But I don't regret any of it because it wouldn't have led me to where I am now. Something that I'm so passionate about, and found kind of something that doesn't have that ceiling that I kept on hitting, and it's probably a reason why I kept getting to those different points. But I'm grateful for these struggles, these failures, to then lead me to where I am now.
So I didn't hear any failure in there. So what do you perceive as the failures?
That's a good question. I think just maybe I see it as not having that degree as a bit of a failure. Maybe that's what I see it as. Is that maybe even now, if I did get myself into a place where I could do a university degree, maybe that's the next change. I don't know. Maybe it's something that I will eventually master and do.
Well, what would that open you up to?
I think because what I do is a lot of mindset stuff, and I think also just like it's a bit of a personal goal. I'd love to go maybe down the psychology route. I can see myself doing something in that. But also, I guess now kind of realizing that it's like a therapy session, going through everything that we've just gone through, is that maybe it's more of a sense of achievement, that it's a box that needs to be ticked for my own kind of achievement of I've done it, I've avoided it for this long. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you've learned a degree's worth of stuff anyway. I don't know, degrees are funny. Sometimes we see them as these pinnacles. But that's why I was interested to know what it would open up. But I could certainly see how if you wanted to be like a sports psychologist or something like that, then it opens up that side of things. But it sounds like you help people in that department so much at the moment.
I guess it's not really a failure. It's come to whatever I've done. It's come to the end of the road and it's time for change. I guess change doesn't necessarily mean that you've failed.
No, it just, listening to you, they're just chapters.
Yeah.
As you say, the plot led on to the next one. And if you, I guess, had thought too much about where that would lead to, it might have stopped you even trying it or starting it. But as you say, it was has been such an organic journey, which, yeah. And you're about to start a massive new one. So Jen's due date for their little baby is on Friday. So, well, yeah. And what have you had to put in place for that? Because a lot of people I coach, they'd love to be self-employed, but they get concerned about maternity leave pay and all that sort of thing. So how have you navigated all of that?
My goodness, it's not easy being I must say, it's not easy being self-employed and maternity. There isn't very much support out there. So my advice would be, if you're planning on having children, definitely have some savings, because there isn't much support. But also, part of designing what I wanted, like my own business, and especially online, is for this moment, is that something that I've always thought about. So I've kind of got support and strategies in place for my business to kind of tick over. But also the clients that I do have are going to be supported throughout the next 3 to 6 months. That's not going to change, but I'd probably just have to kind of step off the gas a little bit in terms of taking people on from now till Christmas, which is normally a quiet time for me anyway, because it's quite seasonal. Coming up to Christmas, people not really interested in in any kind of body transformation.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Some people, they want to look their best for the Christmas party.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can certainly see how the business that you've created, because of the way that it works and how they are supported online and as part of that community, that lends itself really well to you then having your baby and still being able to do a bit of that as time goes on.
And everything's run off my laptop, off my phone. I have that freedom, so no matter where I am in the world, I can work and I can communicate with clients, and then Sam's just gonna have to look after the baby.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay, well, that's been absolutely fascinating and actually just really nice from a personal point of view, just because I suppose I've heard like snippets of it over the years, but nice to hear it as a whole story. Well, and that's the thing, that's what our careers become in a way, don't they? Become stories with series of chapters, and be interesting to see what those next ones look like. And that's what's actually quite exciting, that you may not necessarily know.
No, and that's the thing, is that I've created this business now, which I absolutely love and I'm passionate about, but also, if you, having a baby, and this all could change again. And I think from chatting to you today, I think my biggest takeaway is that it's okay for change, and your career path isn't a straight line from A to B. It's all over the place to kind of find out. You change as a person, don't you? So of course, your career path's going to change with that as well, and that's okay.
Being open to it. It's just a series of experiments, really, isn't it? I think sometimes we take it so seriously. Just go with the flow. Well, and what life throws at you in the experiences that you have. Who knows? Your experiences of being a mother might open up another idea or the next chapter or whatever.
Sam's going to be like, "Oh no, what now? What is it next you want to do?"
Well, yeah, I think we do all have this obsession about what's next. Yeah. Which has meant that, you know, we've grown as a species. That's our innate nature is novelty and, yeah, what's next? As long as it doesn't, you know, take away from the present moment, I suppose. So, okay, well, thank you so much, Jen. It's been really great to talk through all of that, and yeah, wish you all the best for Friday and the arrival of my niece. You're going to be an auntie. Yeah. Very exciting. So yes, I'm sure we will speak very soon. And thanks again.
No, thanks for having me. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye. Bye.